We are super happy to have you all today and to share with you a small study that we did with PACE AI. And today you will be introduced not just to the study and how we went about it and what we found and that fun, interesting stuff, but also some of the features of PACE AI, what they've been working on, what's new, so that you can be introduced also to the tool and see how you might integrate it into your work. We thank you all for coming. Okay, should we?
I know.
Which laptop? Okay, so, oh, I'm first. Okay. Hi, I'm Rachel Riggs. Super happy to be here with all of you. I am a technical advisor at the EdTech Center at World Education. Yeah, good idea. And we do various research and training projects at the EdTech Center around the integration of educational technology in a lot of different settings, but here in the US, our focus is on adult education. And we are, we do all of that really because we're interested in the ways that digital transformation can happen in a way that's accessible and can truly promote learning and provide pathways to more opportunities. I am a former ESOL instructor in an adult ed program. So of course, when I was introduced to PACE AI, I was very excited, not just as an ed tech specialist, but very much as a former instructor who could envision the ways that I might use it in my classroom. And I lead an initiative at World Education that's called the AI for Learning and Work Initiative, where we're exploring various AI technologies, as well as the aspects of AI literacy that are important to build with those technologies. And we do training across the country, training adult educators to leverage AI in a way that is not only effective, but also responsible and thoughtful and strategic. So nice to meet you all. I'm joined by my amazing colleague. Stand here so they can see you too.
Oh, yeah. Here we go.
It's okay.
Hi, everyone. I'm Victoria. I'm the co-founder and CEO of PACE AI, and my background is distinctively not in education or workforce development. So in that way, and in many regards, always learning from all of you as the experts there. So my own background is in machine learning and AI research. So I've been doing that the past 7-8 years, first at Microsoft Research, then at MIT. And I was doing a math PhD at MIT, which I left to build PACE. And you might be wondering, why, what's the relation from math to AI to ESOL? Where are the different connective pieces? And for me, it really was about my family's journey. So my parents are immigrants, and they arrived in the US in the early 90s in a small town just out of South Boston. And my dad's journey was that he had degrees in hardware electrical engineering, but his first job was, anyone want to guess what his first job was in the US? Close? No, not quite. He was a dishwasher. He was washing dishes in the back room of a restaurant, even though he had a master's degree in hardware electrical engineering. He couldn't find a job in his career field because of that lack of English. He literally could not translate his technical skills into a job that paid similar wages. And that's really what we're focused on solving for at PACE, is can we leverage all that's amazing and wonderful and exciting about AI, but actually make it useful and applicable for not just traditional and K-12 learners, but for a non-traditional learner, for an adult ESOL learner who is multilingual or maybe even is lower literacy. How do we build AI that actually gets them? And so that's really the core of what we're doing at PACE, and very lucky to partner with amazing folks like Rachel and at World Ed and all over with our partners across the country. So very excited to dive in a little bit there.
This is very fun. So today we want to talk about, hi, welcome. We'll talk about the PACE platform, what it can do. You'll kind of see all of the fun gadgets and gadgets that are built into the platform itself and how it gets used. We'll also talk about how adult learners and teachers are using PACE AI in adult literacy and adult education settings. And we encourage you all to really think about how would PACE AI work in your context? What might you use it for? And what can be learned from the study that we did to make sure that when you do use it, or if you do use it, what are the ways and the supports that you could build into its integration that would really make the most use of it and make it impactful? Before we get started, we do have a little poll to get to know you all a little bit. So you can, if you are online or in person, scan this QR code with your phone. If you prefer to access the poll on a large screen device like a laptop or tablet, you can go to menti.com and you would enter the code 8644-4713. There's some QR code scanning going on. And when I switch over to Mentimeter, I'm going to put that same QR code up again. So do not fear, just making a quick switch here. And here are the instructions again. And I wonder if folks on Huva can see that. Friends on Huva, let us know if you are having any trouble accessing Mentimeter. Okay, so first, oh, I'm seeing thumbs up. Nice. First question is, what is your role? Love to get a sense for who we have here today. Are you a teacher, administrator? Are you a tech specialist at your program who does maybe training or procurement? Are you a researcher or maybe something else? Okay, looks like we have mostly teachers and administrators. I could have predicted. I'm sure that Victoria could do the math on this about how many people are tech specialists. No, I'm just kidding. No math quizzing. Okay, mostly teachers and administrators. That's great. That's a great audience for us. I think this will be very relevant to those roles. We also want to know which animal represents your approach to using new tech tools. Are you a turtle? You take it slow, step by step. Are you a bunny? You're like quick to try anything, hopping around to different tools. Or are you a wise owl who maybe just kind of thinks about things and is very like strategic? Which one are you? We love them all, by the way. There's a place for all of these animals in the education realm. Okay, we have lots of bunnies. That makes sense. Yeah. You're here learning about another tech tool. So you're the bunnies who are excited. We have some wise owls too. And that is great. No turtles. I am surprised. I usually get a lot of turtles. What's going on here? What are you guys hoping to learn today? What do you hope to get out of today's session? New techniques, cool. Latest updates, okay. Victoria will be delivering all of those. There's been a lot. Specific strategies for using PACE to use in my classroom. Okay, learning about the AI tool. Okay, ESL waitlist, good. That came up in our field study, so that's exciting. Upper level ESL instruction. Oh, nice. Okay, great. Awesome. How to implement AI in the latest updates. Great. What we have planned today, I think, is going to satisfy all of these awesome goals for learning. Excited to learn new strategies. Usable, adaptable tool that can really help. Awesome. Good. Well, we are excited to share with you about the project that we did together, studying PACE AI in adult literacy settings. Going back to the slides here and share my screen. So we at the EdTech Center, our small research team partnered with Pace AI. We felt like, wow, what a great product with an amazing mission and using the most cutting edge technology. Let's see how this works. So we were very eager to partner with them and do some testing of the tool in the target settings. We tested Pace AI in Texas and California. So we had two amazing partners. In Texas, we worked with the Mayor's Office of Adult Literacy, who connected us with teachers and programs. And in California, we worked with the Outreach Technical Assistance Network, OTAN. You may have heard of that. And they also helped to connect us with some participants for the study. These were all ESL teachers, and we did encourage them to use it at all levels of ESL, except for a very basic literacy level. So anything above that. And the study that we conducted was funded by the Institute of Education Sciences. Tear rolling down my cheek. I don't know if you've read the news lately, but we won't talk about it. Small Business Innovation Research Program. So the Institute of Education Sciences had a program where they would basically give some funding to startups and small businesses to test and to plan for scale of newer products in the EdTech market. And these programs would have two phases of research and development. So there was a phase 1A or 1B. You could get a grant for either of those, or a phase 2. So I'll share with you which one we did. We did from about, I want to say it was like July to December of last year, we were doing a phase 1B study. So it was a shorter term and smaller scale than a phase 2, but it helps you to kind of test the tool, work out anything, and then you can go for that phase 2 round of funding for a longer term study, which is typically a randomized control trial. So in phase 1B, we tested usability and feasibility of Pace AI. And the goal was to strengthen the existing research-based prototypes. So Victoria and her team had already done a lot of testing and had a lot of evidence backing to the tool. And this was really just to strengthen and build on what already existed and to prepare it for scale by doing some of that smaller testing. In a phase 2, you would go on to do a longer term, larger scale randomized control trial. That's where you would develop and evaluate a new EdTech product at full scale, with the goal being to, establish a commercially viable product. So our study, the approach to our study, it was a mixed methods study, which means that we used both quantitative and qualitative data. And it was, hi, welcome, come in. A usability feasibility study, like I said before. And we had, I already shared with you our participant networks. We worked with the Houston Mayor's Office and the Outreach and Technical Assistance Network in California to recruit participants. We used learners pre and post tests. Now, these were not like CASA's pre and post tests. These were some assessments that had been created for use with reading skills for today's adults. Is anybody familiar with those readers? That's a leveled reading program that came out of Minnesota ABE. And we basically just used those assessments that they had developed to try and get some gauge on where learners were when they started, and then they would use Pace AI, and then where were they after they had used Pace AI in terms of comprehension, vocabulary, and pronunciation. Another source of data was learner engagement. So we looked at how learners engaged with different features, for how long, which features did they tend to use in Pace AI, and so forth. And then we did interviews with learners as well as with teachers, and questionnaires for both learners and teachers. So those were all of the data sources in the study. And our core questions were around learner engagement and progress. So where is there a promise that this could advance learning, advance ESOL gains, basically? what is the usability of the features? Is it user-friendly? Are people satisfied when they're using it? And what is the feasibility of integration? So this has to do more with the context of the learning. Can it feasibly be implemented in the target environment that you want to use it in? So an ESOL teacher's journey in the study looked like this. They started with an onboarding, and it was the same onboarding that any ESOL teacher would get that is using PACE AI. So they have a very hands-on onboarding where teachers spend about an hour with the PACE AI staff to learn the different features and know how to use it with their classes. Then, of course, they moved into, of course, ours was a little bit different because we also had to onboard them to the research aspects. So we told them a little bit about that, but pretty similar to what other ESOL teachers are getting. And then we moved on to the teaching, right? So they had to work with their learners to get them set up. PACE AI also supported that process. And then, of course, we just needed teachers to assign the readings and track students. It's probably the most difficult part of all of that. And monitoring. So teachers were monitoring. They had to assign at least 3 assessed readers, which had those little assessments attached that I was talking about, using one of 2 learning modes that we were using to test the product. And, there was a lot of, for them, like a lot of nudging learners, getting them to finish their homework, getting them to complete the assignments. That was the teaching and monitoring phase. And then, of course, we asked them to help out with the research part by disseminating the survey to learners so that all the learners would fill out the survey and we could gather insights from that, recruiting learners to be interviewed. And then on the teacher side, completing a questionnaire and attending a focus group or interview. So this was their journey. They went, from learning what it is, using it, and then participating in some of that data collection at the end. So now that's what we want to bring you guys through with a little onboarding to what PACE AI is.
Thank you, Rachel. All right, so what is PACE AI? So first, our team, as I mentioned, our background, our experience is really in AI and machine learning research. So our entire team, we're comprised of AI research scientists, ML engineers that have experience collectively of decades across some of the top labs across the country. And we are also TEFL certified English teachers. And a lot of us are immigrants or ESL learners ourselves, and also first generation college graduates. And so our goal, again, is really to build not just general AI or mainstream AI, as the AI arms race you're probably all very familiar with that's going on right now, but we're building AI that specifically is made for adult ESOL and lower literacy learners. And so we've partnered with several programs across the country, and our goal is really, again, to fast track English language acquisition and support that bridge between English language and workplace skills. So getting into the nitty-gritty of what actually is the PACE platform, what's the product here. So you can think of our platform as this AI that integrates end-to-end with any curriculum materials. So this could be leveled readers like we did in the study. It could be training manuals. It could be IET, worksheets, whatever it is. We integrate into any existing materials. So there's a lot of customizability there. And so integrating in those materials then opens up this suite of different teacher tools, personalization tools, and what we call learning objects or learning games for ESOL learners to engage with. And so for the study, we were specifically focused on a subset of those tools. And so what that looked like was we would integrate into these leveled assessed readers, and a teacher would then be able to, for example, adapt that content to different learner levels, because we were encouraging teachers to use this across all learner levels from high beginning to high advanced. And so you could come in here and take that content and re-level it down to a lower level to make it more accessible, for example. Once our AI is integrated into any content, it also becomes interactive. So learners can click on any sentence or phrase or word that's unfamiliar to them, and they can get translations in over 250 different languages. So that's actually more than any other model out there right now. And the reason is that that's really, again, where we focus. So we actually train and fine-tune our own submodels so that our agent system can pull on a specialized model just for example, Haitian Creole. And so that's a really important piece of what our AI does, is create those natural language interpretations that is context relevant to the learning content. At the same time, students can get listening and speaking practice. So any of that content, they can now hear what that would sound like when an example speaker is reading that out loud. And they can also, it's covered by this little, oops. So they can also practice pronunciation. And so what that means is they can practice reading out loud that sentence or phrase or vocabulary word, and they can get real-time feedback on how they sounded. And so this is a kind of AI. It's actually a neural acoustic model, which is a type of AI that's trained on hundreds of accented speech patterns with the goal of predicting, are you comprehensible in context? So if you were to say this to me in whatever context we're learning this in, would I be able to understand what you just said? So it's about comprehensibility as opposed to accent reduction. And this pronunciation feature will be important as we discover in the findings later. Okay, so what else is there? There's a personal AI tutor that's context relevant for every learner. So we're giving an example here of an IET context of medical terminology. And the idea here is you can ask your AI tutor any question about the content, and it'll be able to respond to you in context. So imagine I was asking ChatGPT out of the box, what does midline mean? I might get a bajillion different possible answers or explanations. But there's only one correct explanation in the context of, I think this is part of a musculoskeletal system intro to med term chapter. And so here, the midline is actually the center line of the body. And so that's the correct in context explanation that a student would want to get. And so here, there's two things here. One is it's in context, and two is the AI tutor actually learns my level and adapts to my level as I progress with it. So it keeps track of, think of it as it keeps track of everything that I've interacted with, everything that I'm learning from, and then it can adapt and meet me in level appropriate English. And so here, even if the original content is very advanced and academic, I can get a simplified explanation from my AI tutor. And then of course, you can also speak to your AI tutor in any of the 250 plus languages that it speaks, and you can get further explanations in that. Okay. And then the AI will also craft these different kinds of skill-based exercises with real-time feedback that are based on whatever content you're working with. So for example, that could look like, and we have a few dozen of these different learning objects, but they cover everything from writing exercises with grammar corrections, where as a student, you write out an answer, and then the AI will give you in green there that example correction of going as close to what you tried to say as possible, but correcting the grammar and the word choice and offering possible writing tips as well. So that's one kind of learning object. We also have different kinds of vocabulary building, focus on comprehension and context. And those are the ones we're going to focus on here because those are really the ones that came out the most in the study. So there's a lot of other learning objects that you can customize as a teacher, and the AI will also adapt based on your students' needs. All right, passing it back to Rachel for the results and findings.
Yeah, and first, I'm curious, looking at some of those features, knowing what we were focusing on in our study, I wonder if anybody wants to try to predict some things based on your knowledge of adult ESOL learners, how they interact with technology, what they're motivated to do in terms of different exercises. Does anybody have any guesses as to what they liked, what they needed, what was helpful? This is, no right answers. I'm just curious. They needed support from their teacher. Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
Sorry to flip into a language that the person's more comfortable in.
Okay, using their home language more, yeah, or other languages.
teacher next to them by a tutor instead of just having a personal teacher, just one everywhere they go.
Like the AI tutors.
And
kind of
AI
just-
Oh, they
things
felt
to
like
them.
they had a teacher next to them. Oh, okay. You think they liked that probably. Okay. Other ideas?
I think of like the pronunciation part of it, 'cause I know a lot of our students are like, I want to learn how to speak perfect English. So I think that might be very
Yeah,
And as an educator, I will say I really like that it's focused on comprehensibility instead of accent reduction.
yes.
Because I think that helping students understand the difference between those two is also like perfect English is having an accent still.
Yeah.
And I think that that is really great that that is the focus. And I can't even imagine just that technology blows my mind. So
Yes, I will say, in my role, I see a lot of products, people give us demos all the time. And this was something really special to me, especially in that aspect, because we get a lot of people who are like, well, American native like speech, like they're gonna sound just like an American. That's like the pitch that I usually hear. So I was so excited to hear that like, it's about being understood in the context. Our learners are, ready to kind of use their English in context. They're adults. They're already functioning in a lot of different multilingual contexts. So that was really cool. Yes. To adjust the level. Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, let us share with you. We didn't test everything. I would like, there's so much more I wish we could have done, and I hope that we will do in the future. But these were some of the findings from the study that we did. High level, bingo. They loved, teachers and students praised the pronunciation focus and the ability for learners to have access to something that would give them that pronunciation practice to develop those productive language skills. So the teachers observed that. They observed that it was something that could help them build confidence and something that they might not feel as nervous to use because it's not, direct to human. And the learners also were very excited to have access to it. And then, of course, the importance of onboarding was something that what we heard a lot about in terms of having access to the onboarding from PACE being really helpful. And then even teachers commenting on, really the importance of bringing the students along and teaching them all the different features and getting them feeling comfortable in the tool as a way to support engagement. Personalized learning for heterogeneous classes, my favorite word. It also gave opportunities, as we know, AI is especially suited to personalize learning, to your point about level, to when you have classes that are often multi-level and you find it hard to address every student's specific needs and interests and language levels in all of the language skills. This showed a lot of promise for being able to address that heterogeneity. Big word. And the human-centered approach was something that really came through as well, that yes, it's an AI tool. Yes, it's amazing and very exciting. And the teachers that were working with the learners were critical in supporting them and using the tool and knowing what kind of content to put in front of them and monitoring their progress. So of course, that was just something that was reiterated to us as very important in the integration of AI in general, and in this case. Specific to PACE AI and some of that first research question where we were really looking at, is there promise here that this could actually help learners go up a level and promote the learning that we're focusing on? We did find that when students had higher engagement, so that could mean that they spent more time or that they used a range of different features within the platform, they ended up with higher learning gains. 73% of the students perceived PACE AI as effective or very effective in improving their language skills. So you can get into, in the report, which I'm going to share a link to at the end, you can get into the nitty-gritty of each of these things. We had a sample size of about 269, we just checked before this. There were 269 students. And then there's a portion of them that did different data collection activities. So you can kind of see what that means in the study, but we did see that they felt that this was something that could help them improve their English. And teachers and learners reported that the pronunciation practice really showed promise for helping to reduce that speaking anxiety. In terms of the usability, so that was our second research question around just, user friendliness and user satisfaction. How easy and intuitive is it for teachers and students to navigate and interact with EdTech? That's what usability would be. We had 89% of learners who would probably or definitely recommend Pace AI to their peers. So that showed us that they really, if you're willing to recommend it, it means that you had a good experience using it and you feel it's useful. Teachers were very satisfied with the technical support. They found the Pace AI team to be very responsive in addressing any issues that came up. And as you all know, teachers who are working at night, teachers who have a class again in the morning, who have busy lives, busy schedules, not a lot of time, this is a really critical aspect of usability for adult educators. Teachers and learners expressed a desire for flexible navigation. So they wanted to be able to more flexibly go, if you kind of think of a lesson as a learning pathway, they wanted to go back and then advance and to do those things more flexibly. And Victoria will talk a little bit about how Pace AI has addressed that. And then feasibility addresses, can the EdTech tool be integrated into the target setting, like I said earlier? Teachers valued the personalization, and that was something that holds a lot of value specific to the setting where we were testing this out. So they liked that it could address the different levels and the different learners, and they liked seeing which exercises each student was completing in a lesson. So they liked to have that view into the learner's progress. That was specific to kind of how it would work for them on a more regular basis. They also noted that it made it possible to more effectively support multi-level classes and open enrollment programs. So we had people trying this out with students on wait lists. I saw that earlier in the Mentimeter. And they were very excited that they had something that students could engage with before they get to class. Oftentimes they were even able to, put the same content that they were putting into the classroom, they could put onto Pace AI for the students on the wait list. So it really could help to engage those learners and help them make some progress before they can fully be integrated into a classroom. Teachers noted a need, so they had kind of had this request that this be more aligned with academic standards and some of the other EdTech tools that they use. Of course, they always want kind of that seamless integration of their entire tech suite, their tech stack, and they also wanted to seamlessly integrate into their other curricula and the assessments and so forth. So we saw that resurface as a need with Pace AI. So let's hear how Pace AI addressed that feedback.
Right. So here's some of the things that we did to address the feedback that we got. So one is that remember the study started in July of last year and ended in about November, December of last year. And so since then, we've been partnering with CASAS, for example, to align to the different, in this case, I'm showing you reading steps levels for levels B, C, D, and E. And so what we've done before is under the hood, our AI is aligned to the NRS standards for English, so the National Reporting System. But it wasn't something that we were actually showing teachers. So we weren't showing teachers, hey, this is the level that you're looking at. And so that was one big change that we made, is actually align those and expose that alignment in the user interface so that teachers know what kind of level something that they're assigning might be conducive to. And so additionally with that, it means we're also generating these different kinds of materials and assets that could be useful in an EL Civics context as well. And so you'll see, for example, a job fair, how do you read and decipher that job fair flyer and get the key information, such as what time the job fair ends, or how do you decipher a recipe, or things like that into different CASAS levels and different core content areas. So if you're interested in more on that, I have another talk with Lori Howard on AI fundamentals and some applications to EL Civics as well. Right, and the other big piece of it, which is related to the flexibility and being able to navigate more seamlessly, is we actually spent a lot of time just making the entire platform super mobile optimized. And so now learners can do everything on a smartphone or just a mobile device. And that includes everything from the old features, such as just pointing and tapping and using the pronunciation tool, to some of the new features that we'll talk about shortly, such as role play or chatting with your AI tutor. All of those features are now completely mobile first accessible. And that leads me to what's new on PACE. So since that study and in that interim period, what have we continued to double click on? And a lot of it is drawing on our learnings from the research study. So first is exactly to your point earlier about pronunciation and that power of getting to practice speaking, especially in a judgment-free environment and especially with comprehensibility being that benchmark. We've developed an entire suite of role play scenarios, as well as this ability for the AI to role play as any character in a context. And so that can be, for example, mock interviews for a job. It could be patient intake in a medical assistant program, and the AI can play the role of the patient. It can be really any range of scenarios. And it's really just your imagination is kind of the limiting factor, and your content would be the limiting factors there. And so how that looks is, as a teacher, you can set up the AI's role, you can set up the student's role. And this scenario, this was actually a real scenario for an OSHA certification related course where the AI's role is about, I think this is about food handling and food safety. And so the AI's role was the manager, and the student's role was set as a staff member. And the situation is that they're going to have an exchange about reporting a potentially unsafe food handling practice that the staff member observed. And so this is connected then to that food safety and handling from ServSafe, that material and that content. And so if the student goes off the rails or doesn't answer appropriately, the AI has guardrails to bring them back into the scenario. So this is really what it's doing, is it's lifting out the pronunciation pieces, the intelligibility, the comprehensibility pieces, and then creating this on the job or real world scenario to allow the student to just practice with an AI speaking partner.
Isn't that cool?
And so shameless plug, if you want to play around with our AI and role play scenarios, our session with Lori on Wednesday will go into, I know these are really short sessions, but the goal is for us to get a little bit hands-on and at least see kind of what the scenarios can do.
What is that session called?
That is a great question. I think it is called, I think it's called AI Fundamentals for EL Civics, or Separating Hype from Reality, AI Fundamentals.
Who's going to do the presentation? You?
Yes, it'll be myself and Lori Howard.
You can find my person.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
that's
If you
smart.
search Victoria. Separating hype from reality, AI fundamentals for EL civics.
Awesome.
That is on Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. Wait, I don't know if my computer is synced up to this time zone.
That's right. I think it's 1:30.
I
Okay,
think it adjusted when you arrive here.
okay. Wednesday at 1:30.
Right, thank you. All right, and then related to that, so basically this role play, you can think of this as another tool to add to your toolkit where you can use this to generate custom, really custom, like food safety or patient intake, really just very custom role play scenarios from your own content. And if you want to, you can also, we've created also batches or different kind of pre-packaged role play scenarios for different use cases. And so this is, for example, the citizenship role plays that are aligned to the latest US CIS test textbook. So it has, it's up to date, and it has all of the 100+ questions in there. So if you finish all of these different modules as a student, you will have covered all the possible knowledge-based questions on that test. And so these are sorted by the different chapters in that test textbook. And so we're creating essentially other ways for teachers to kind of really take that burden off of teachers and give them different types of role play exercises that they can just plug and go with. Right, and then we also have a set of healthcare skills-based role plays where these are just some of the common ones that we've had requests for example, calming down a patient who's upset, or reporting an incident that you saw, or helping someone with their bedding change, or just some routine kinds of tasks that you might encounter as a. Yeah.
So with all of these, does the teacher have to assign it for the student to access it, or can they access it on their own?
Yeah, good question. So it does have to go through the teacher's assignment, but then everything is already preset.
Talking about what she asked, so at the beginning, you as a teacher need to set up the level and everything, or is prescribed like with an initial assessment, and then the system automatically puts the level?
Yeah, good question. It's really both. So if you know the levels of your students, then when we onboard your students, we can preset that level, and that just serves as the warm start. So that's where the AI will start with that student. And as they grow, they improve, their level changes, that just automatically.
But at the beginning, so let's say that I don't want the intervention of the teacher, so you just give a username, a password to the student. Can they start from?
Yeah, so like if you don't have if you don't know about the student, if you don't know the levels, yes, when you create that username and password for the student, they can take a little quiz. It's mostly vocabulary based, and it just
auto-prescribe.
Yeah, and then
from the beginning.
and then it'll adapt. Yeah.
I would say idea for future study would be to see if students take that pretest within the AI first and see what level that it prescribes to them, and then later take like a classes or tape test to see how much that aligns. I think that would be interesting to see how like accurate the AI is compared to what the testing is.
Yeah, that's a really great idea. Yeah.
From a research
So with some of our partners, we're actually looking at measurable skills gains.
Yeah.
So we're actually looking at their real CASAs or tape pre-assessment. We're looking at then using PACE during that semester or 2 semesters, and then looking at what their MSG gain from that is. So
But you haven't done that yet.
we're in process doing it. We don't have results yet to share, but in June, we may have some of those to share.
You'll be in Indianapolis next year.
There you go.
America, I think so.
Love it. Love it.
Oh no, they have on the list. Next year is Indy, and then the
It
year
is,
after
yeah,
is
it
New
is.
Orleans. So yeah, they like played it out a few years. Super responsive.
First,
Amazing. All right, and then because teachers really liked being able to have that window into where their students' progress was, what we created here is an AI insights and recommendations dashboard. So not only can you now look at each student and get an overview of across the things that this student has done, what kinds of skills are they struggling in, what are they doing well in, what are they decent at, and then you can also get that for the entire class, and then for all of the assignments too. And so that could be, for example, I'll read some of the recommendations here. So here, recommendations for this class based on the assignments they did, it says, you should reinforce the use of future tense forms and past tense consistency, and emphasize the importance of prepositions for clarity in sentences. So maybe this is students in the class are messing up some of the prepositional phrases or specific tenses that will call it out at a high level. And then also some insights around what specific things students are struggling with. For example, students might be confusing simple present when they should be using future tense, things like that. So just additional ways for teachers to get a bird's eye view of how their class is doing. And then it's a little bit small, but it also breaks it down into different skills areas by those learning objects. So we have vocabulary, we have pronunciation, spelling, collocation, and other skills there. All right, so this is coming soon. So this is something that we're calling solo mode internally. But essentially, this is really drawing on a lot of the insights and results from phase 1B, that research study, and looking at the AI algorithms that we developed there, and pulling those all under the hood into this larger personalized learning mode. And so what this is for a student to be able to get additional self-directed learning practice, especially outside the classroom. It can be used within the classroom as well. but it's really meant for a student to get that additional personalized practice based on, as a warm start, the content that they're learning in that class. So let's say in this case, you have a nursing assistant course, and the teacher has assigned, let's say, 5 or 6 different assignments. The student has gone through all of it, but wants more practice. Let's say they want to drill pronunciation, or they want to practice that role play scenario. Then the AI will now be able to craft for them a kind of personalized path on top of either remixing or on top of what they're learning in the classroom, but still going to be kind of nursing assistant focused, and it's going to be focused on those strengths and weaknesses. And they'll get this little, it'll be kind of like a, I come in as a student and it says, hi, Victoria, what do you want to work on today? And then I can pick the different skills based on what I'm struggling on. For example, maybe I'm also doing citizenship and I'm also in this medical assistant course. And I'm pretty good at verb tense, but I'm struggling with my pronunciation comprehensibility, and I'm struggling with some of the content from the citizenship test. Any questions?
Many, but right now. Where do you get the content? It's you created or automatically takes from the web?
Great question. So it's really any existing materials that you want to bring in, or it's content that we have through, for example, partnerships like Reading Skills for Today,
Okay.
Reading for Health.
But it's limited. It's not all that it's in the web you can get.
So the way, because of, in general, with copyright and being able to use things on the web. So what we do is if you have specific materials, then it's all within your own walled garden. So let's say you bring on materials for a medical assistant course. We don't expose those materials to any other program.
So you have the ability to upload your own content. But I don't want to create content. I just thank you.
Exactly.
But you have a lot of, so I see that you have packages and everything, but it's something that you created already. It's not like adapted depending on the need from the web. You have the copyrights of it. We need to see that now.
Yeah, so we have both of those. So you can either plug into our existing kind of prepackaged materials, or you can bring your own materials and we just close it off. It's kind of, think of the analogy in the copyright space of using Google Docs or Google Drive. Within your Google Drive folder, we have access to it insofar as you can integrate it and serve it up for your students, but you own those materials.
So how does it work? The teacher has to subscribe account, and then is there a limit on students, number of students?
Yeah, good question. So for us, it's actually the other way around. So teacher accounts are free to play around and look at things with. And what we do is usually we sign an institutional license, and so then it's based on student seats.
Can you give us a rough estimate so that I can pitch this when I get back?
Yeah.
Like rough idea.
Yeah, sure. So we're $120 per year per student.
Okay.
And then we do discounts past 500 students.
Okay.
120
per year.
Okay. So it's per student, not, I'm sorry, back. Yeah,
Is there like a demo account that you can go in and kind of try it out and how do you access that?
Yeah, so teacher accounts are free, so you can go on even just right now as a teacher. So that's actually on Wednesday, that session, what we'll do is we'll set you all up with teacher accounts, and then from the teacher side, you can play with different tools. And then what you can do as a secret is you can actually read the assignment of what the student will see from the teacher side. So that's a way that you can kind of see
So
what
you
the
just go to Pace AI and
yeah,
sign
it's paceapp.ai, and then you can create There's another Pace AI that you might find from Googling that is not us, and I think they do like legal documentation or technical documentation. So if you see that, that is not us diversifying, that is just a different company. Yes, I'm not sure who's.
Oh, online. Oh, good. Good eye.
Yeah.
Jennifer, we can unmute you. Go to attendees. Allowed to talk. Jennifer, you are now allowed to talk. So if you wanted to ask your question, just feel free to unmute.
Maybe did she type something? Yeah, sure.
You mentioned the role playing for healthcare, how leverage is that? And then are there any other fields besides the healthcare?
Yeah, so that set of healthcare is what we've kind of pre-packaged. We've pre-created some, but you can go in and with any content, let's say in construction, we've had shipbuilding and manufacturing, you can bring those materials on and create role plays from that material
Okay, so right now it only has.
for pre-packaged, but you can create, yeah, any ones that you want. Yes.
So when you feed the system of content, is it creating like a ceiling for difficulty level, and then the AI is then tailoring kind of material in that content area that with a ceiling of difficulty level that's fed? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think I get your question. You're saying, does whatever content level you put in cap the difficulty level
Yes,
of
and
the,
everything else. If you talked about it
Yeah.
adapting to a student's
Yeah.
level based on effectively an ability to have a conversation that's really functioning, and then
Yeah.
is that
so that is one input in terms of how difficult the content that a student engages with is going to affect our prediction of the student's level. But it's not the only thing, because you can imagine a student in a kind of multi-level class where someone who's a level 3, between a level 3 and a 4, they might be getting some things wrong with a level 3 piece of material and getting some things right with a level 4. So it's not just looking at the
Finally.
Yeah.
what else is it looking at?
It's granular to the level of how they're interacting with those learning objects. So let's say that's with level 3, they're getting these types of pronunciation questions right. With level 4, they're getting these kinds of vocabulary, close reading questions wrong, and all of those different things.
Jennifer, I think, has successfully unmuted. So
Okay.
I want to see Jennifer. Do you want to go ahead and ask your question?
Yes, hi. It sent me to settings and then I had to do this whole other stuff. So I'm sorry.
Oh, hold on, Jennifer. We can't hear you yet, but I'm going to fix it right now. Try that again, Jennifer.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you.
Hi, yes, it sent me to settings, so I had to do a few other things before I can go ahead and speak with you. Okay, hi, how are you? I wanted to I'm not sure if you already have it. Do you have the app, or because I was trying to access it on my phone to see if there was an app for it? Is there one?
Yeah. Yeah, there's no app in the App Store.
Okay.
It's if you just go, we call it mobile web. So essentially, if you just open up a Safari or a Chrome on your phone,
Okay.
then you type that in. So the teacher side is not going to be mobile optimized. You can
Okay.
access it, but for teachers, especially if you're uploading, highly recommend you do that on a laptop or a desktop computer.
Oh, that's fine. And is it free, or is there like a paid version or something? I'm not sure.
Yeah, so the teacher features are free, and again, of course, with the teacher side, you can access the different kinds of tools and you can preview things from a student view. But it's the student accounts that would be licensed.
Okay, wonderful. Okay. And at the beginning, I didn't catch your emails. Is it possible to show it at the end again?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
The final slide here. So this is the full report. Let's see if yep, these are our emails.
Thank you.
You want to write that down really quick. Yes.
With the student accounts and paid subscription, so in some of the other kind of softwares that offer that, it's more like a seat. So a student can kind of come in and drop, and a new student can take that.
We do that as well.
Is that the
Yeah,
same?
it's like that, like parking lot or
Yes.
yeah, we do that as well. Yeah.
Do you have like a report to tally the hours?
Yes, we do. Yeah, we have by week, by day, by month. and also breakdown by assignment.
So can I just choose a range?
Yeah, that's a good question. So no, right now it'll just be based on I think our week is from Sunday to Saturdays.
I'm sorry, I didn't get the one, but the system would monitor the study time of the
Yes,
student?
yeah, it'll track the learning time.
So do you think that this one is designed for teaching or just for the students to practice?
Yeah, so I think for us, our core is really learner centered. So it really is focused on getting that student additional practice.
Complementary from the curriculum that you already have in place.
Yeah, that's the idea.
I'll also share that in the studies, a lot of the implementation was during some kind of independent practice time. Some other things we found are like having a headset with a microphone is really helpful if you want to have the whole class working on Pace AI for a period during class time. And yeah, so they were doing either homework or if it was in class, it was kind of like independent study and practice.
Yeah, it's, I think the name said pace on your own pace.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's the
I
idea.
think it's like, yeah, so it's probably,
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
yeah, but there are some software that they are designed also to align with the curriculum.
Yeah.
Because you were talking about the standards, so,
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes it's challenging. I mean, it's amazing, but it's challenging for the instructors to align additional complementary
Yeah.
curriculum.
Yeah.
Are you or do you plan on becoming approved by Texas Workforce for online classes?
Yeah, that's a great question. We've been approached about that a couple times. We haven't done and we haven't taken steps towards it, but we're not uninterested because yeah,
I
don't know.
think- Yeah, I mean, just from like my view, I think that would be a pretty logical and almost, maybe painless thing is to have PACE approved for proxy hours because it gives time on task. And there's a lot of insight into what learners are doing. So I think using it as a tool to provide and track proxy hours is a good way to implement that.
As you continue to improve the model, how do you see teachers helping you?
Yeah, so we actually do right now have just a couple really incredible teachers. One of them is Jamie Allison Goldstein. And so it's a lot of teachers that can help us align learning objects or help us craft different ways that a learning object should show up. And a lot of that we can then also train on.
So is she doing like OPD types of things for the AI maybe?
What's
The Oxford Picture Dictionary, she's one of like the two main authors of it.
Yeah.
I love
So
that you
I was like-
mentioned
I was
that.
like using OPD as a tool to like guide content, so it would be really cool to see this align not just with classes, but with also OPD, so I think she's one of the two authors, so like.
That's really cool. I think we've definitely talked about that. I think for us right now, we're kind of focused on more on high beginning to more advanced, but yeah, I think there's a lot of different ways that we can do that.
Well, the OPD is like it's all across the level, so it's a picture dictionary, but it's just like a tool that's used for class, like multi-level classroom.
Okay, very cool.
I want to mention really quick that there's a panel with Jamie. Jamie is moderating a panel on Wednesday. Victoria and I are on it, and there's some other amazing ESOL textbook experts. So I hope you'll come to that one too. And let's ask Jamie to do that in her free time. Yes.
I think you're addressing reading, listening.
Yeah.
So you can hear the reading.
Yeah.
Okay. Speaking, of course.
Yeah.
That was one
Right.
of the most used features, like the listening to the reading.
Yeah. So the writing we have with grammar feedback. So it could be like a response to a short answer or an open-ended question, and then students will get feedback on the paper.
So you're addressing only for.
So it's space for very low levels too?
So today it's really the sweet spot for us is going to be high beginning to advanced. So we don't do really well. I say that, but actually one of our power user teachers, he's in Burbank. He actually teaches level 1. So I guess technically then, yes, we. do have
Teachers
that,
will,
but
you know, they'll
teachers
move
are
mountains
amazing.
to make stuff work for those level ones, yeah.
Maybe it's more for digital literacy than English level, because sometimes
Right.
if they are digital literate, even if they are very low, they
Right.
get it.
That's what I was gonna say, our program is highly level one and NRS level 1 and 2. And our students are, we've worked very hard to get them digitally literate and
great.
really focused hard on that, and it's amazing what they can access, especially with some of the second language supports, like the multilingualism we've already built in.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna say, like, if you don't feel limited by that
Yeah,
level.
absolutely.
That's a really.
We've really seen so much progress and desire, right? Because they need so much practice, they need so much time on task. And to limit them out from the digital options is,
Yeah.
you know, they need it. So,
Yes,
yeah.
don't let English be a barrier to technology.
technology,
There are enough
exactly.
barriers already.
Right.
That's
Yeah,
really.
that's a great, good for you guys.
That's a great point to end on.
Yes, great question. Also wanted to mention, I hope you guys will join us tonight at 5. There's a Strand meeting for digital literacy and technology in Reunion F, and then these are all of the other Strand activities for the digital literacy and technology Strand. Thank you guys so much. I think this was great. I don't know when this ends actually. I think it's 9:10. Okay, yeah, so we have time.
I'm sorry.
No, we have 6 more minutes. But yeah, thank you guys for coming and have a great COVID 2025.
Thank you, everyone.
So there's Indianapolis in 20